Hey everybody, Eric Switzer here, joined by Meg Pelliccio.
Hello.
We both played Monster Hunter Wilds in different continents at the same time.
Not the
um,
exact same time. That would have been weird.
yeah, not at the exact same time. It would have been the middle of the night for me. But you went to Germany, you went to Gamescom,
I
and they had
did.
the demo there, and it was public, wasn't it?
They did have a public demo, yeah, because there was a day where we went and we filmed the queue because it was horrendous, and someone
Mm,
told us later on that they'd worked out that the queue was like a 10-hour wait, and so they were turning people away because they were like, obviously the
wow.
show will be over, you're just not going to get in.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, I got invited to, it was like a Capcom at Gamescom in the US
Yeah,
day.
I didn't know they did that.
So I played that and I played some fighty game stuff. I can't remember the embargo on that, so I won't talk about that stuff. But we both got to play the Monster Hunter demo. I'm positive about it, but first I want to complain a little bit. This is maybe a little inside baseball, but the sequence that you and I played has been in two different trailers. And at Summer Games Fest, I watched the game director play this hunt. And
Right.
now I've played the hunt, and I just feel like I'm stuck in this. I just want to see anything else from this game because I've seen the same zone and the same monster over and over and over. And I'm it's awesome that they're showing it often. Like we've seen
Kind of.
4 trailers
It,
now, I
it makes
think.
you kind of think, why are you only showing the same thing? Like,
Yeah.
are you not as confident in the rest of it? Do you know what I mean? I don't actually
Yeah.
feel that about this. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fine. But generally, if
Yeah.
it was any other game and they were only showing
Right.
you the same bit, you would wonder why they weren't showing you other bits.
Yeah, in this case, I'm sure it's just like
Yeah,
super long-term PR plan where
yeah,
like
and I
they've
think
got the
they
release date and
and they probably just decided this is the best bit to feature certain things, and I don't actually know if the
right.
public had the same amount of content we had,
No, because it was
because
quite long, right?
yes, because we had two sections, so I don't know if maybe they just had like one section, and if so, which part it was. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. So for us, we did like the literal intro to the game,
Yeah.
and then for some reason watched a short video that explained how to separate alphas from the rest of the herd.
I didn't get a short video. I just
Okay.
got. No wonder I was struggling. I was like, "What am I doing?" I didn't get a short video, but I
So
did have that next bit, and I was just like, ran into the pack by mistake.
yeah, okay. So that's the main thing I want to talk about. So yeah, so it was like the intro to the game, which has a hunt, but it's like it's mostly it's like a quick time event almost.
Yeah, it's like more cinematic. I think that was like showcasing the graphics and look at these lovely characters, and oh look, you're getting your mount and things like that.
And about using the basically the new clutch claw
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
grab things out of the environment to trigger traps. Like that's a very it seems like there's a lot of focus on using that long range grab feature. Not to
You
mount.
definitely, yeah, but like to grab, so like there'll be a monster flying overhead, you grab something from that monster to then use against another monster that's
That's
on the ground. You're going to need to
yeah.
multitask in this one a lot more, I think.
That was a little bit gruesome. Not that it was gory, but just to think about like it's like a bombro or whatever, like or bonobos. They all have similar names. It's like one of those flying monsters, and you shoot your claw out, and I guess you rip out its
Its
throat
throat,
because you
yeah.
get a screecher pod out of him, which you can then use to disrupt those guys that are jumping in the sand. Those like snaky guys that are like.
Yeah.
It's gonna take me a while to learn all the new names, but yeah. So
Oh, same.
you're trying to get screecher pods, and to do that you got to clutch claw them out of little monsters that are flying through the air, and I thought that was pretty metal. It's a
Yeah.
pretty metal way to get materials.
Yeah.
Yeah, also probably the TV I was on was like either had motion smoothing or had bad settings, but it looked very muddy to me.
Oh, mine didn't look that way. Mine looked
Okay.
really clear because I remember thinking like, "Oh my god!" Like, I like look at the graphics. I don't normally go into a game and analyze the graphics, but there was
Hmm.
a point where like you could see like a vein in an eyeball, and I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
like this is pretty good."
Okay, cool. So yeah, I was probably on a bad TV because I was kind of looking around and mine looked a little different from everyone else's. But the whole time I was playing, I was like, man, this kind of looks like Rise. You know how
Oh, now
Rise
you had
kind
a
of
NAF
looks.
TV, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Rise has cool style, but I think that game looks kind of ugly.
I
And it,
preferred World, but it's the restriction of like the Switch and stuff
the
really for
Switch,
Rise.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so then so then we do the hunt, and one of the things I was most concerned about when I first saw this demo be played at Summer Games Fest was that the way that he showed us separating the alpha from the rest of the herd, because the idea with this new one is like you're not you're not like choosing a hunt at the hub and then loading into a zone. It's supposed to be like a
It's more
continuous
natural.
world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I liked that about it. The idea that it's like this living, breathing world and there's like packs of, monsters roving, and you would imagine like a
Yeah.
David Attenborough like voiceover. Like
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so like when you go out on a hunt, you're just sort of like surveying the land, and a lot of times you're going to find, well, I guess it's going to depend on the species, but some of the monsters are herd animals, and you're specifically hunting the apex of them, and you don't need the rest of them.
yeah.
So when they showed me this demo, it was very cool. It was very cinematic, but he had this way, the director who played it for us had this way of like separating them one by one. And one of the things he did, for instance, was like he aggroed them and then kited them into the sand dunes, and then
Oh.
um triggered like a quicksand event, and they all fell into it, but the alpha was strong enough to climb out. So the
That's a
rest of
bit
them
brutal on the others. Like, you will die because I only want to
yeah.
kill that one in
Well,
a slow and painful way.
I think the quicksand falls through to a cave
Oh, okay,
below.
okay.
So
They're
if you
fine. They
get caught in
lived.
it, yeah.
No monsters were hurt in the making of this trailer, apart from
Well,
the
I
one
mean,
you
a lot of
kill.
monsters were, yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, and then I think he did some other stuff to like separate them, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. But then I started thinking about the way you actually play Monster Hunter is like, I'm gonna kill this one monster 50 times until I get the dragon gem
You're
from
not
him,
going
and
to
I'm
put that
not.
much effort into it. Like,
Yeah, I don't want to have to do, like, it's really cool the first time, but what's it going to be like the 40th time I need an
how
alpha?
did you manage to split your pack out of interest?
I shot one dung pod at them and they all scattered.
Right, one. I went through nine dung pods because there was just one other one that still kept
That
following me, and I
wouldn't
was like,
go away.
I kept hitting that one. I was hitting the alpha one. I was like hitting the ground. I was like, why is this thing not going away? Yeah, 9. I had like one
Okay.
left at the end, and I was like, I'm just screwed if this doesn't work now.
I put on the ghillie suit. I walked right into the middle of the group and I threw it at my feet, and all the
Um,
small ones just disappeared.
yeah, I stayed on my mount and I was just running around like crazy. So maybe
Yeah.
that didn't help. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so that was one thing I was like, wow, that's a lot of interesting, like there's always like the realism of the like ecological factors of Monster Hunter that's always interesting, like the natural behaviors of the monsters. And I think this whole thing with the herds and separating them is a cool idea, but it sort of clashes with the grind of Monster Hunter. And at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you can just shoot a poop pot at them and it's fine, and that solves the problem. And I don't know,
But
is it
I
over designed?
I don't know. Like, it can go one of two ways, right? So we're gonna play it when we play it for real, like for realsies. We're either gonna be like, this is refreshing, this is really exciting, or we're gonna get tired of it fast.
Yeah.
Time will
Yeah.
tell. I did in the demo. Obviously, you're only getting a brief window. I did find it refreshing, and obviously, you have like this dynamic weather thing happening, and we had like a storm roll in, and apparently that can change like the behavior of the monsters and which monsters appear and things like that. And the world did feel like more real and more like spontaneous, and which I did like. But again, you're right. If you just want to grind for the same monster to get the better armor, better weapons, you'll be like, oh, there's another storm. Oh, I just want to get over there.
Yeah. And the other thing I was thinking about was this whole like dual wielding thing. Did you mess around? Did you take out 2 weapons?
I did. So I've only ever really used one weapon in Monster Hunter, the twin blades. And so in the first demo I was like twin blades, and in the second bit where you could have the 2 weapons I was like twin blades, and then I can't remember what else I chose, one of the the bow gun or something. And I used it briefly, realized I absolutely suck
You
at
have
this
no idea
because
how to
I've
do it.
never
Yeah.
played any other weapon, and so I just reverted back to using the one. When it comes out, I'll pick like a second favorite and learn it a bit more. But obviously, in a timed demo, I was like, I'm not going to waste my time failing at this over and over. I'm just going to go back to what I know.
See, I think no one's going to do that. I think all you're going to do is have 2 of the same weapon. One of them will do status, and the other one will be your
Ooh,
highest damage.
I like that plan
I
more.
think that'll be the meta, is everybody brings a paralysis weapon and then their damage weapon, and they just,
Yeah.
like,
I wish I'd
be
been clever enough to work that out in the demo.
but, like, all the trailers and stuff, it's like they have a great sword but then they also have the bow, or they also have
Yeah,
the
I think
long
the
gun.
idea is they want you to have like one sort of normal weapon and one sort of ranged weapon, but then because you have that grabby thing, I forgot what it's called. I don't know. I feel like you don't really need the ranged weapon, but everyone that I've seen play it went for like a sword and then like a gun or something. Yeah,
Yeah. So the one thing, I'm with you. I only play the glaive. I have played everything to some extent, but yeah, I'm really into the glaive, and it's hard game. Even when you only know one weapon, it's hard. Like, I don't think my brain can manage being really good with 2 weapons at the same time. But
yeah,
one cool thing I pulled off is with this new wound system, which is different from what we've always called wounds, right?
yeah,
Like so this new system is that they will have this. So okay, let me back up. You have a focus mode where you can aim at specific parts. When you hold the left trigger, you can, like, direct your weapon at different sections. I'm a little bit ambivalent about that, but one feature of that is when you are in focus mode, you can see wounds. They're like these bright red glowing marks on the monster, and if you focus on those wounds, you'll do bonus damage, and then you also have like a new type of attack that will destroy the wounds. Every weapon has one. So, all that to say, when I was hunting that big woolly mammoth boy, I'll learn all their names eventually. At, at a certain point, he had a wound up on his back, which I could not hit easily. But then I mounted up, I switched to the long bow gun, and then I shot the wound and destroyed it. So I was like, oh, well, okay. My main weapon has weaknesses. Every weapon has a weakness. Not every weapon is good at everything. But in those situations where I need to, target something on a monster's back, maybe also I would switch to the gun for a moment.
I was far more chaotic. So, like when I knew there was like a wound on the other side of it, I would just kind of aim in the general direction and spam the button, and eventually, even if I couldn't see it, but it must be lining up right, it seemed to be pulling off the special attack thing.
Yeah, that's
So
the
I was
other
like,
thing.
boom.
Yeah. So the glaive's attack to destroy the wounds is actually pretty cool. You kind of do a back step and then you do a flip forward. You launch yourself into it and do a stab move. I was finding that I wasn't actually hitting them things, and it was still breaking them. Like, I was getting in the general area of the wounds and it was doing it.
Yeah, the Twin Blades one is a similar thing. Like you do like this little fancy move, but like I didn't realize for ages that there was like a special move. So I was just like constantly in focus mode, and then like right try and attack the wounds, and I was like, this is kind of annoying that I'm just constantly in focus mode and constantly having to try and focus on these because the monsters are moving. And then when I realized like obviously you can just press a button and do the super move, I was like, oh okay, this makes
Yeah.
more sense. But I did find myself often in obviously you want to be in focus mode because you want to see the wounds to then pull off
Yeah.
the attacks, and it's more annoying being in that all the time.
Yeah. Well, and also some attacks change when you're in focus mode.
Yeah.
Um so that was, yeah, I was kind of trying to wrap my mind around all that. And
Did you get
also,
to play with other real players or
no.
no? Same.
No, I was solo. I called in the bots at one
Yeah,
point.
same.
So
The
that's
SOS
a
flare.
yeah, so you can SOS bots in now, which is interesting. I've been playing a lot of the new WoW expansion, and you can run those dungeons with NPCs now.
Final Fantasy 14 has that, and it's a godsend because I'm
Is that
antisocial.
new?
No, they've had it for a couple of expansions now, but it's
Okay.
become like a staple, and you can play through. I think Dawntra you could do everything with NPCs, so you could do it without anyone.
Okay.
And it's also interesting in that one because you get like little extra NPC lines that you wouldn't otherwise get. But I
Yeah.
do like when games make it so you don't have to rely on your other friends being online or pairing up with randoms.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that. How good they are. Do you gear them yourself too? Like, I wasn't clear about that.
Yeah, it so. I also wasn't clear on that. I also wasn't really sure how good they were, because I swear there were
Right.
times where like I couldn't see them, and I was like, "Where are you guys?"
Because I love SOSing and getting randos in Monster Hunter, except when they cart and I lose because of them. Right?
I would like the idea of like it's a player character and it's like a digital kind of rip of their
Oh, like
that would be cool.
Dragon's Dogma or something.
Yeah, because then
It's
you
like
know that the gear and the setup's going to be good for the most part because of
that's a really
players
good
using it
idea.
themselves. If they did that, it would be great.
Yeah. Oh man, if they didn't do that, they're gonna have to do it for the next one because
They
that's a
should
great
do
idea.
basically a pawn system, but for this that like I'm
Yeah.
sold on that now. Someone tell Capcom.
But I mean, overall, like it's like you we talked about this a little bit before, but you're like, it's Monster Hunter and it's great, and it's kind of hard to say much more about it at this point.
Yeah, there's no like really unique take anyone's going to walk away like from it with. Everyone's going to go, it was really good and I enjoyed it, and you want to play more. What more can you say?
Yeah, we did one hunt on like the first monster,
Yeah,
you know. Um, but the big stuff that they're showing off, we got a taste of the weapon swapping and the wound system and the focus mode, and just kind of running around the map was really cool to see more of it. That zone that we've seen in all the trailers, that kind of deserty arid zone, actually has a lot of biome variety in it.
yeah,
I don't know if you got a chance to run
there were
around.
like rivery bits and stuff, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
just a wash of like mud and you're like, oh, I'm bored.
Yep. And
It
it had
was it was very it felt full even though it was like a desert.
yeah. It had a pretty cool cave system
I got lost
too.
in those, fell down a hole, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah. Not as dense or vertical as like the ancient forest in
But I
Worlds.
mean, maybe a later zone will be.
Yeah, hopefully. Because it's quite sprawling, even compared to what's it, Wildspire Wastes, which is kind of the same sort of deserty place from Worlds. This one is much bigger, a lot more sprawling. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how many zones. I don't even know if they've said how many zones there are.
I don't think they have actually, but they must have something similar to the ancient forest, right? They've got to have something like jungly, foresty.
Yeah, I would definitely hope so. Yeah. All right, gamer. Anything else you want to touch on? Any other thoughts?
I don't think so. I just
Oh,
want
the
to.
camps.
The camps.
Camps are weird
They are weird
because
now, actually.
yeah, so you're not like so you're still discovering campsites, but they're everywhere.
Yeah.
There's tons, and then you just put up one camp and then you take it back down. They're like temporary roaming bases. It's not like at least that's the impression I got. You're not creating like a network of teleport zones like you were in Worlds.
Yeah, it didn't feel as like static once it was there. Again, like Dragon's Dogma, you're just camping for the night and then moving on.
Seems like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of seemed
Which I
like that.
suppose is the more like realistic thing, like where you're going to get all these resources to build all these camps, and I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. There will be changes. There will be changes, which is good. It should
Yeah,
change.
it did. I think it makes it feel a bit more like seamless as well. To be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we definitely need to see more. So we'll
Yeah,
chat next time they have a big update for us. But I guess the wait's not that long now. It was long when they announced it at the Game Awards last year, but
yeah.
now it's 4 or 5 months, 6 months, something.
It's going to go by quickly. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks for chatting and thanks for watching. We have a preview link down in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and visit us at thegamer.com. That's the gamer, no spaces.